Welcome to the fourth episode of The Ripper's Gambit, where we explore the most fascinating and shocking suspects in the Jack the Ripper case. I'm your host, Tammy D, and I'm here to tell you the true stories of history's most notorious criminals. In this episode, we'll dive into the life and crimes of one of the most infamous serial killers in American history, H.H. Holmes, the American Ripper. What if I told you that Jack the Ripper had a rival across the Atlantic? H.H. Holmes was born as Herman Webster Mudgett on May 16, 1861 in Gilmanton, New Hampshire. He grew up in a wealthy and respectable family, but he had a dark side from an early age. He was fascinated by death and anatomy, and he enjoyed torturing animals and experimenting with chemicals. He also had a knack for lying and cheating, which he used to his advantage throughout his life. Holmes studied medicine at the University of Michigan, where he learned the skills of surgery and dissection. He also developed a habit of stealing corpses and selling them to medical schools or insurance companies. He later moved to Chicago, where he changed his name to H.H. Holmes and embarked on a career of crime and murder. Holmes's crimes centered around his infamous Murder Castle, a hotel he designed and built specifically to conduct his evil intentions. Situated in the Englewood neighborhood of Chicago during the 1893 World's Fair, the so-called Murder Castle was a labyrinthine structure with secret passageways, hidden rooms and windowless chambers. Holmes used his hotel as a hunting ground, luring unsuspecting guests inside and subjecting them to unimaginable horrors. It is estimated that Holmes murdered anywhere between 20 and 200 people, although the exact number remains unknown to this day. His victims included not only hotel guests, but also employees and lovers. Holmes, who was an expert in manipulation, would exploit his victims' trust, charming them before conducting his heinous acts. But it wasn't just his murder spree that made Holmes a figure of terror. His methods of disposing of the bodies were equally disturbing. Holmes would often use quicklime and acid baths to dissolve the remains, leaving little trace of his victims behind. He also sold the skeletons of some victims to medical institutions for extra profit. Holmes's reign of terror eventually came to an end when he was arrested in 1894 following suspicions raised by his associate Benjamin Petersell. As the investigation unfolded, the full extent of Holmes's gruesome crimes began to surface, shocking both the public and the authorities. In May 1896, Holmes stood trial for the murder of Benjamin Petersell. The trial captivated the nation as details of his horrifying crimes were revealed. Holmes was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging. On May 7, 1896, H.H. Holmes was executed, bringing an end to one of history's most terrifying serial killers. The case of H.H. Holmes continues to fascinate and horrify true crime enthusiasts to this day. His ability to blend into society, his sadistic methods, and the sheer audacity of his crimes make him an enduring figure in criminal history. But there is one more detail that will shock you. According to some sources, H.H. Holmes may have had a connection to two other famous serial killers, Prince Albert Victor, the royal suspect in the Jack the Ripper case, and Joseph Facher, the French Ripper. Could they have been partners in crime, or rivals in evil, or even the same person? Some of the theories that suggest this connection are Holmes and Prince Albert Victor were both in London during the time of the Ripper murders, and they both had medical knowledge and access to surgical tools. Holmes and Prince Albert Victor were both involved in the Cleveland Street scandal, a high-profile prostitution and blackmail case that exposed a male brothel in London in 1889. Some sources claim that they were both customers of the brothel, and that they had a secret relationship. Holmes and Prince Albert Victor were both part of a Freemason conspiracy, and that they used the Ripper murders as a ritual sacrifice or a cover-up for their illicit activities. Holmes and Joseph Thatcher were both active serial killers in the late 19th century, and they both killed their victims in brutal and sadistic ways. Holmes and Joseph Thatcher both had medical knowledge and used surgical tools to mutilate their victims, often removing their genitals or organs. Holmes and Joseph Thatcher both had mental health issues and claimed to hear voices or be possessed by demons. Holmes and Joseph Thatcher both travelled extensively and could have crossed paths in Europe or America. Holmes and Joseph Thatcher both had a possible link to Jack the Ripper, as Holmes was suspected of being the American Ripper, and Thatcher was known as the French Ripper. However, these theories are based on speculation, hearsay, or dubious evidence, and they have been widely criticised or dismissed by historians and experts. There is no conclusive proof that Holmes, Prince Albert Victor, and Joseph Thatcher ever met, or that they had anything to do with each other or the Ripper case. The possible connection between H.H. Holmes, Prince Albert Victor, and Joseph Thatcher remains a mystery and a source of controversy. What do you think of this connection? Do you believe it is possible or improbable? I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe, rate and review the show. This is Tammy D signing off. Join us next time as we delve into another captivating true crime story on The Ripper's Gambit. Who among the 14 holds the truth?